Good morning and welcome to Race Industry Now, the weekly webinar series from ePortrade, presented to you by ARP, Performance Plus Global Logistics, Ferrari Racing Components, PIC, Fifth Third Bank Motorsport, Cryer, and CTEC Manufacturing. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of ePortrade, the racing industry, every minute, every day. This is episode 534, and we're going to be talking sustainability in motorsport. With me this morning are Judy King, the co-founder of ePortrade, and Mr. Jeff Hammond himself. Judy?
Thank you, Francisque. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. Today is a prime example of us having a racing destination where not only you find hardcore engine parts for engines and items used in the machine shop or at racetracks, but we have hundreds of services on this platform. Like today, we have a motorsports banking company, a racing family that does shipping for motorsports, coatings, manufacturer reps, racing schools. So don't forget, when you're using this platform, we have services on this platform there to service you. So enjoy everything you see on it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Good to see you, Judy, as well as Francis. Yes, today we're going down a little bit different approach, but something that's very intricate in everybody's racing world. No matter what series it is, you've got to have a lot of knowledge and really understand how much racing can give back to a lot of different industries and a lot of different associations. And hopefully today, the folks we have on, we're going to have an opportunity to pick their brain and have you get a better understanding of how valuable the idea of, let's see, how should we put sustainability that we've got in this industry and this in racing as a whole. I think that hopefully today's conversation will be not only educational, but it will shed the, I guess you might, a light on what sustainability means to our industry and to the world of racing. Good morning, panel. How are we doing?
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, America.
And like I say, I want to introduce everybody here because we don't normally have this many people on the panel, but and then plus we got the doctor here, Dr. Cristiana Pace. She's a CEO and founder of Enovation, and you're in England, correct? You're in England right now?
Yeah, correct. From Silverstone. So I'm in Silverstone at the moment. So
well, very excited about that. And also we're being joined by Mr. Logan Waddle from Indianapolis and Penske Entertainment. So good to put a face with your conversation we had earlier this morning. And last but not least, would like to have everybody welcome Bernhard Hafenscher. Am I getting that right, sir?
It is a hard one. Hello, hi, Jeff.
Hey, good morning. And
Good
the good
morning
thing
from
about it,
Munich.
I'd like you to know right on the very get-go, I've had the privilege of going over to Europe and to Finland a few years ago and watched the Finnish World Rally. And I'm telling you right now, I walked away from there. This old country boy from North Carolina got an education on how you race. I mean, we think we race here in NASCAR. You folks race 24 hours a day. I mean, it just seems like you go and you go and you go, but the things you see out there on the course, you will never see anything, nothing like that at a NASCAR track. I'm very, very proud of the fact I got a chance to say I have attended a WRC event, learned a lot about your series, and excited to having you here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Mr. Waddle, you want to kind of like, take your group here and let's open this thing up because I mean, I've got some questions I want to follow up, but the idea of it, you folks need to explain to us what you've got going on and how we can benefit from really what seems to be real simple sustainability when it comes to motorsports.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Jeff mentioned my name is Logan Waddle. I lead sustainability efforts for Penske Entertainment, which is the parent company of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where I'm at today, as well as the IndyCar series that travels across North America. So if you think back to the history of motorsports and how it got started, especially here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, when this facility was built over 100 years ago, back in 1909, we really started at that time. Our facility was built because we had all of these innovators, engineers, and inventors that were building cars, never been built before. So at the time they were called horseless carriages because they hadn't even developed the term automobile, right? And so they built this track because they wanted to test all of these different automobiles that were being developed against each other with the ultimate test of durability, which is a 500-mile race. So in 1911 we had our first Indianapolis 500, and it was really an event to see who had the most durable vehicle. And so, since 1911, automobiles have come a long way, as we all know. That's not anything new to this group or this crowd. But a lot of inventions have come about from motorsports and how we've gotten to the vehicles and the engines we have today. Even if you just look at it from the IMS perspective, rear view mirrors were invented here at IMS. Turbocharged engines were tested here for the first time, and seatbelt technology for safety and innovation. Safer barrier, which we are all familiar with, was piloted here at IMS. And so we still carry that spirit with us as it relates to sustainability and the things that we do to continue to improve performance while also making the sport and the entire industry better for the planet. And so we're carrying that tradition and those roots for innovation and technology with us today, with things like renewable race fuels, tire technologies, hybrid units, and many other series electrification. And those aren't just specific to IndyCar; those are to the motorsports industry as a whole. So we really carry that with us, and how we're continuing to drive impact in racing. And from my perspective, to be able to approach it from that sustainability lens and to be able to protect the industry that we all know and love is just an added benefit.
Well, Dr. Pace, what kind of approach as far as sustainability and motorsports, differs from traditional sports and leagues that you've been probably looking at, and what your company kind of, I'm sure, compares to?
So I think it's like sustainability in motorsport is something that, as Logan said, has always been there in terms of innovation and innovate to be more sustainable, to be like more efficient, we would say, in motorsport. But I think the most important things is possibly in the last 10 years, 8 to 10 years, it really coming across like one of the biggest, I would say challenge, but also opportunities to tackle for motorsport. So differently from the other sport, motorsport has got innovation, and the fact that you can try innovation and you can try efficiency and you can try more innovation for sustainability, that I think is really a USP of motorsport that other sports don't have. We work with tennis, we work with football, we work with sailing. Well, I would say sailing has got as well technology in it. So there is quite a lot of innovation that also really comes across border between sailing and motorsport in terms of technology, in terms of GPS, in terms of sensor, in terms of carbon fiber and these kind of things. But motorsport has always been the testing ground of this technology that can really bring sustainability alive in other industry. And I think that is really the USP that we need to nurturing. Like when we talk about sustainability, everybody think about forest and green or about social project and impact. Yes, is also that, because it is a lot of things. In our index, we examine 6 different indicators, 26 other things in terms of sustainability. So it's also that kind of things, but really innovation, efficiency, and how to use better the resource we have. Those are really important points for what concern both sustainability, but also the durability of sport, to make sure that the sport is future-proof.
So Bernhard, WRC is a motorsports that's more popular in Europe than it is here in the United States. And the audience may not totally appreciate what you guys do, because again, it's not shown regularly. and it definitely is not the thing you can run right around the corner like to Charlotte and go see the race. So can you, give us a little insight on the keys of the WRC as far as, your sustainability strategy when it comes to your series?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Jeff. So what is WRC? It's 14 rallies across the globe on 4 continents. Talking about the US, yes, we would like to be there. We're working on bringing a rally to the United States. It's about an event that happens over 4 days, split into around 20 so-called special stages that altogether amount to like 300 kilometers, which is about 200 miles, I guess. The fastest wins over those stages. That's a simple principle. It's all sorts of cars competing in one rally. So from Rally 1, as we call, which is the top category, down to Rally 5. Some gentleman drivers even there. So it's a very mixed, very authentic kind of motorsport that has been around pretty much like Indianapolis for as long as there have been automobiles. There has been rally, really. And some of the rallies, are in their 70th, 80th anniversary, like the one you mentioned, Finland or Monte Carlo. That's the most known, probably. What's special about sustainability now? As we speak today, we've just seen the checkered flag going down for the shakedown, our official training for the Safari Rally in Kenya, which happens around Nairobi. So everyone can imagine if you justify to have your cars run in the Kenyan African wilderness, that there is a justification you need to give yourself, you need to go give to society. So this is okay to do. And for that reason, sustainability in WC has a long heritage. It's been 10 years now that we first looked into, sustainable fuels. And in fact, as per today, the WC is the only FIA World Championship and the only Motorsports World Championship that runs entirely 100% on sustainable, like fossil-free fuels, right? Which is one of the key elements in our sustainability strategy.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. Logan, you and I were talking about that the day prior to our event, that at Indianapolis right now, it's just that fuel that is it ain't going slower, it's going faster. You guys are breaking records and making it, and people say, how are you doing this? How are you able to take something that, let's face it, the people who really have their heart and passion into the green world that they want to produce, you guys are holding hands with them and walking right down through but yet you're still giving back to people who love speed. Just like the WRC, it's not interfered with the competition, it's enhanced it, and it's part of the new world, I guess you say, of motorsports.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. It's all about those partnerships, right? So if you look at, our emissions inventory for Penske Entertainment, which is the collective of all the events that happen at IMS and the IndyCar series, 80% of them are Scope 3. And, for those who aren't, emissions experts, Scope 3 are those are emissions that are outside of our control. So those are coming from, which is another reason that motorsports is so unique, is because we're not just transporting athletes to different stadiums or venues. We're also transporting equipment, and we have commercial vehicles going down the road, and we have fans, of course, which we love having at all of our venues. And so it's all about the partnerships that help us drive the influence and impact. So we, as the IndyCar series, we set rules and regulations for what components can go into the IndyCar vehicles, whether it's fuel or tires or chassis or aero components. We mandate those, but we don't build them ourselves. So we're not the factory, like IndyCar is not the factory that's building the race car parts, right? So it's all those partnerships that really are just as much a part of my team as they are with as the internal employees here that I work with. And so, our renewable fuel partner, Shell, they help us, Firestone on our tires, NTT Data helping us track our emissions, Dallara with the building of the aero components themselves. But yeah, the goal with all of these changes is to continue to improve performance along the way. And so if you look at in the last 2 years that we've run renewable fuel in the IndyCar series, we've had the 2 fastest qualifying laps, set records for Indianapolis 500 qualifying. So it's not sacrificing performance, and it's not changing the sport for the worse by any means. It's still about improving, but figuring out ways that we can be more conscious about our impact while we do it.
Well, let's just continue right on down this line of questioning, because Dr. Pace, this is the 4th sustainable championship index to date. And can you provide us with some of the key, insights to, your, how you identify, this year's report? Can you give us some kind of update so that we have a better understanding of what you do and how you view the effort?
Yeah, so this report, as you said, is the 4th edition, and we collect the data the year before on what all championships are doing on sustainability. That's mainly like international championship or big championship. We got 91 championship that we collect the data for. And then together with UCL, that is the University City of London, they score it for us, because obviously they are corporate sustainability experts. We don't really want to work with the stakeholder and score the stakeholder. That is not our place. So what we normally trying to identify is things that the championship do on their certification, for example, ISO accreditation, or the accreditation from the FIA, award that they win for sustainability or social impact, environmental impact, social impact, engagement with partners. So lots of championship, as Logan said, they've got some partnership that really highlights sustainability and also as well WRC. And also the sustainability approach, so the strategy and what they're trying to do in the long term in terms of reporting and making people aware what is sustainability for motorsport. So all these criteria, I've got other indicators, sub-indicators that are actually in the paper, and people can download it for free from the website, and everybody get access on the same criteria and scored. I think the highlights of this year is that really we got much more championship that have been trying to start sustainability or do some activities, and also the 8 top one are becoming very much more sophisticated than the other. So the gap is almost widening between the medium, the medium level and the top level. What we're trying to do with the index is really showcasing the best example and the good example. So when people talk about sustainability and they may not know what it is, if they're going to read it, they can see what other people are doing and they can try to imitate. So it's almost giving some free tools for everybody to at least start on sustainability. Well, I would say starting is easy, and as Logan and Bernhard know, progressing is what is more expensive and more difficult, because then you need the tools and you need people and you need a specialistic consultancy. So, but what really the index was is to actually say the industry is doing something, is moving on that direction, but is not shouting enough about it. So let's shout it all together, and let's show what is possible and how we can inspire everybody to do this. And it's really important, because if you think about the business model of our industry, motorsport, all the championship live through sponsorship as well. So if we think about the sponsorship budget as well, especially in Europe and in this side of the world, those are really now sustainability budget is to encourage diversity and inclusion, to encourage decarbonization and all these things. So it's very much to trying to showcase that also motorsport is taking action on that kind of things, but also to make aware the partner that they don't have to migrate anywhere. We, as motorsport, we can still do that, and we can still do truly like tennis or football or other sports. So it was really to trying to get everybody to understand the power of motorsport in these things and the difference that we can make.
Well, I mean, I'm going to assume that all of you coming together to try to make this happen the way you are, you probably had some serious knockdown dragouts about, why do you want to do this? All you're going to do is jeopardize what we're doing here. It's not good for the industry, I'm sure has been one of the comments, but yet it seems to be just the opposite. It's not a threat. It may be a challenge, but it doesn't seem, it's not threatening what what we're doing here.
And it's the same with safety. I always do the parallel about safety and sustainability because I work in both fields, I would say. So when we starting to say, oh, we need the halo, or we need the screens to protect in the Indy cars, or we need the tire tethers because the tires are flying away, everybody was very much, oh, they're going to destroy the sport. It's terrible. No, we were trying to make the sport more safe. And it's the same things with sustainability. We're not trying to change the sport. We're trying to find way that the sport can adapt to what partners and what fans want from them.
Right. I'm just going to, make sure that people understand that, hey, we are taking questions. And so if you've got a question for our panel, please feel free to shoot them on over here. And I noticed that Kelsey Francis has already, I think, handled one of the questions that was going on, because they were asking about, what website would you download, preferred by Dr. Pace to try to learn about this. And I think Kelsey has already sent a deal out about Sustainable Motorsports Index, so they can get caught up on it. And
I got some good collaborators already on the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I say. Everybody's working together here to try to get everything going like it needs to do, which is great. While I'm looking at some of those other questions, I want to ask Bernhard. The Beyond Rally, there's a sustainability handbook. How does the elements fit together from the strategy, as far as strategy and sustainability with the WRC? What makes this unique? Because again, a lot of this, folks, I'm learning along with everybody else. I have a lot of this, or I have no clue what we're talking about. I'm learning as we go.
Sure. So there is Beyond Rally. That's a brand we created with the ambition that resembles our ambition to do exactly that, to go beyond our own sport and talk about sustainability, innovation, and diversity. That's the three pillars in Beyond Rally, right? So this is something, as we see ourselves as pioneers, and we really want to open the discussion with the other motorsports, but also across into other sports like Cristiana was saying, sailing, and whatever it is, tennis, you name it. And so that's Beyond Rally. That's a brand we are communicating, we are promoting, and the key element, the tangible thing in Beyond Rally is our sustainability roadbook. It's really a written document, 80 pages. And as we were saying, is there a resource where one can get informed about sustainability? I think I would really recommend, be brave enough and say we recommend our sustainability roadbook, which is, of course, online on wrc.com. To have a look at that, because we really tried to look at sustainability from a 360 perspective there, to cover all the relevant areas, which is climate, biodiversity, as I was saying, innovation. These things, they are linked together. AI and data is linked into sustainability, right? In some way or form. Your work on social media, your communication is linked into biodiversity and vice versa. Responsible management is a part of it. And of course, Cristiana was saying social impact, right? So we really tried to find our position in the world of motorsports within all those 5 categories to deliver a credible message.
Okay, Jess Hewitt wanted to ask a question that pertains to your renewable race fuels. What are the components in your renewable race fuels? And he also brought up, I wouldn't call it a question, more of a statement. He said to let you know that, from what he understands, that the WRC is going to be in the United States, here in the near future, and if not this year, in 2026. And how do you go about, getting a team together to come running something like that? I know when I was in Finland, there were so many new manufacturers that I was not, car manufacturers over there that I was not aware of. And they were just, Citroen and, Subaru was over there for sure. And trying to think right now what Ford's vehicle of choice that time I was there. But with what the question, and with that question right there, is it something that, you know, that's a rule book that will tell you what you can, what could race if they come to the United States?
Yeah, so this we're in really good position there because we've got, you know, all the rights from the FIA to organize rallies wherever we want, and apparently North America is the only major territory out there where there hasn't been a rally yet. And yes, we are working hard on that. We get very positive response. I cannot commit to any particular date at this stage, but we'll communicate something very soon, as you know, within the next couple of months. But we're glad that, you know, there are so many parties interested in bringing the rally, bringing the sport of rally the way we do it in WRC to the United States. As for the fuels, I'm afraid I do answer that question, although I don't, because I'm really not the technical expert on the components of the fuel. But whoever asked that question, please send me an email. I will share this with our experts, and especially with our suppliers that can help with that. You know, for everybody, they are truly 100% sustainable in the sense of fossil free. So they are not blended or so. They are 100% fossil free, which doesn't necessarily mean that their CO2 footprint is zero, but it's very low, coming from the way these fuels are produced from, you know, diverse biological components. And again, please let me know who wants to know more, and I'll take care of it.
And Jeff, I think on this question, both me and Logan can chip in a bit, in the sense that there are very different fuel for different championships. So you go synthetic fuel, you got renewable fuel, you got fossil-free fuel. So, and they all have got very different composition. I think what they've got in common is the fact that the energy that you take to refine and produce them is renewable energy. And obviously what you got as well is some, for example, if you talk about biofuel and HVO, those come from the waste. Like that doesn't come from the food and the crop, but come from the waste. So it's kind of like a very different, there is like possibly 5 different terms for terms and kind of technology for what different championships are using at the moment. Logan, I don't know if you want to add something, but obviously you got your renewable partner as well.
Yeah, our renewable blend is predominantly sugarcane ethanol. That's second gen, so not competing with the food chain. And then there are other smaller mixes in it related to animal feedstocks and some IP, which I unfortunately can't disclose, but predominantly sugarcane.
Well, we're definitely hitting the nerve here, because we're getting questions that pertain to a lot of this. Steve Smith was making a comment that what's the panel stock on carbon offsetting for competitors or complete race and rally events if the offsetting is under certification and verification within the same country as the fuel is burnt. And this is, like I say, Steve Smith at Carbon Positive Motorsports. And then I'm also going to include Mark Waddle, excuse me. He publishes a weekly roundup on sustainable motorsports and the news around the thing. And he wanted everybody to understand that if you want to do something, I think he would like to help. So, I mean, you got a lot of interest here and people who are paying attention to what you folks are putting out there right now.
And I think for just on carbon offsetting, and then I let as well Logan and Bernhard say that. So we, as a consultant that advise championship, we don't recommend carbon offsetting. We recommend a reduction plan. So we recommend about measuring your carbon footprint, trying to see how you can reduce it. And then when you cannot reduce it anymore, you just mitigate the little parts that you cannot reduce it. In terms of mitigating in country where you race, I agree, but doesn't have to be a specific country. For example, another championship that we work with, that is the SROGT championship, they are actually reduce it for a couple of years, and now they're mitigating, and they are actually racing in Australia, they're racing in China, they're racing in US, so they both like a different blend of offsetting credit, as long as they're credible and as long as they got a gold standard VCS and they are certified, because of course we need to make sure that those are credible for motorsport. But I think every championship has got its own strategy in terms of carbon footprint reduction and offsetting. So maybe Logan can say something about the IndyCar, and Bernhard, if you want to say anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, Cristiana, I would reflect what you said. The priority for us is reduction of what we can control in our operations, and then following that, mitigating, you know, the parts that are very difficult or impossible to. One example is our fan travel. We are an entertainment sport at the end of the day, and so we want fans to travel and come to our events. It's a fan-driven sport, and so we offer at every event at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as well as a number of our IndyCar events, we offer fans the option to mitigate their footprint from travel, similarly to how most airlines have that option now as well. We have a very similar plan on our ticketing platform, but internal reduction is the first priority, and then once we get to that, you know, that point where we can't reduce anymore, then that's when they come into play. For us, to the point about domestic and certified, it's very important for us that all of any offset that we do purchase is registered, and we of course prefer domestic. And so it depends on the market and the case-by-case basis on which one we would choose or which one we work with. But I think to Cristiana's point, there's a time and a place for it.
Well, it seems like there is quite a lot of concern with this, and y'all are responding to it, that you're trying to come up with a constant. Would that be the best way to maybe say it when he's talking about a reusable or renewable fuel, no matter where you go? So when you are, Bernhard, I want to come to you on this. When you go to all these continents you go to and different countries you go to, do you take your fuel with you, or how do you handle that, internationally when you're doing it, or are you kind of like at the mercy of whatever the nations says it needs to be?
Yes, indeed, and indeed, it is a tricky thing. It is a tricky thing in terms of logistics, and it is a tricky thing, especially in terms of regulation, because we've seen barriers, and that's very interesting. Although we live in the European Union here, where you say tariffs and everything should be unified, gasoline is an exception. Right, so you might come to the fact that you cross the border with your truck full of gasoline, and you have to worry about if this now undergoes different taxation and so on, right? So this is the detail. In general, yes, as per your question, Jeff, we are delivering the fuel to the event. So for instance, right now in Africa, we brought it there because it's not available locally. That's certainly a challenge, and for the future, I mean, we don't need endless amounts of fuel. That's the other thing, right? For the distances we're doing in the cars, the number of cars we have. I mean, normally on the long haul destinations that we do, we have less cars than in Europe, so that makes it a little bit easier. But yes, we have to take the fuel to those events. We're just in the final lane for the new tender trial that we do on behalf of the FIA. So things might look different next year, where we'll likely have a new supplier for the fuels, and we can rethink. We actually have to rethink this thing from season to season and from event to event, because things are progressing, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, Logan, with IndyCar, how they work with competitors, how are you guys working with it here locally and within the United States? And even though I don't know how many events that Team Penske and participates outside the country and everything, how does IndyCar and how is your company right now working with these challenges that y'all are facing? It seems like each and every day.
And sorry, Jeff, I cut out there a little bit. Or you request the challenges around fuel or the challenges just around logistics? What was the specific question?
Well, when you with your competitors and the different series that you guys are competing in, you know, what do you run into? I know you're supporting this and you're working through IndyCar. I mean, like I say, y'all got a big spotlight on you right now because it's successful with your series. But you know, there's got to be other places you go. A little bit like what I was asking Bernhard was, you know, what's the big you know, around the next corner? You know, where are you going to run into something? Or you so far you haven't maybe hit that, you know, one-way street.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Jeff. I think it's to kind of touch on what I mentioned earlier. It's all about partner engagement, and so you know it's more than anything, we try to influence the folks who help us on the supply side, the other tracks that we race at, because Penske Entertainment's kind of an interesting organization structure. So we're the league and we're one of the tracks. So we own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We recently acquired the Long Beach Grand Prix, but most of the tracks in which we race out, we don't own. So it's working with the owners of those tracks and with the promoters of those venues to figure out ways that we can reduce emissions with renewable fuels in our operations, not just on track, making sure that we're implementing recycling and composting, food recovery to minimize our impact on the community and the local landfills, and figuring out ways to reduce energy from electric or natural gas in the first place. And so those are really the biggest alligators, I'd say, closest to the boat that we try to influence. But we're very fortunate for things like the index that Dr. Pace and her team put together, because in many ways, you know, we're considered competitors. You know, IndyCar is a competitor to NASCAR and to sports car racing and to Formula One, and we have these connections now, and we can see what other folks are doing in the industry, and we really work together because we say, oh, you know, rising tide raises all ships. We don't have another planet to race on, so we got to work together to drive these solutions. And so we work closely with NASCAR and have contacts at their team, as well as Formula One, Formula E, and now, of course, with WRC. And so working closely with them across the board, despite being competitors on paper, it's important for us to bounce ideas off of each other, find things through the indices that are published, to give us ideas and find new ways to be innovative in the space of sports and entertainment.
And Jeff, just one thing on this, I think is while championship compete in general between them, in sustainability, they have the same problems and nobody wants to reinvent the wheel. So they actually talk to trying to make efficiency, because if they can make efficiency, everybody gains their championship, another championship, and the whole sport in general. So the beauty about sustainability is exactly the same parallel about safety. When we developed safety in the 80s, 90s, early 2000, everybody came together in motorsport. I don't know if you remember the old accident database that the FIA did back in early 2000. And I was actually one of the lady that was working on that. And all the industry came together. We had the accident from NASCAR, we had the accident from WRC, we had the accident from F1, and everybody came together to try to understand what to improve. And it's the same things in sustainability, you know, although the championship compete, they know that the problems are the same. So they don't want to spend money reinventing the wheel. They actually want to try to work together to see which solution works so that people can implement the solution.
Well, it's a little bit like one of the comments that were made by one of our audience out here was talking about the disposal of fuel. I mean, you're going to run into that also, and you've got to work together. And they're saying, you know, they're part of the Formula One team, and they're part of the sustainability program. And, you know, that's one of the things that you know, if one person has the problem, everybody's got to have the problem. So coming up with a common solution that benefits everybody, and that like goes back around to a little bit like what Jess Hewitt brought up, was the innovation in sustainable racing fuels. People wondering whether or not they were ever going to carry over into the road markets for cars and trucks. And, I know from my knowledge, with some of the manufacturers that we're involved with, it's there. I mean, it's like we say, you can't do something, everybody talks about, we took lead out of fuel, so as we move forward and to start developing and creating new sustainable fuels for whatever application, we all benefit, including if we get it into the general public, then we all benefit because all of a sudden this is something that we can all use. I mean, we have all went from leaded fuel to unleaded fuel, and so, oh dear Lord, what are we going to do? We can't race. Well, hey, guess what? We got some of the best unleaded fuel out there today. So it's supply and demand, and at the same time recognizing that there is a need, borderline urgency, to stay after it. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, to Jess's point, all the technologies we work on the track, where the goal is to get them to the road in the future. It's what drives motorsport and how we have always, operated as an industry. And so it's definitely part of the goal. I think whenever these technologies are developed, there's always supply chain challenges, which have been even further enhanced, the challenges have with the COVID pandemic and coming out of that. And so it's not always immediate, but to Cristiana's point, the technologies talking about safety back in the 90s and 2000s that came about and are available to the public now. So certainly the same kind of goal as it relates to sustainability.
Well, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't at least touch on it from my point of view of sustainability of some of the products we talk about. Safety, Logan's brought that up. No matter whether it's in the rearview mirrors, as simplistic as that is, but when you take it even further, a lot of the safety innovations and a lot of the chassis, technology that is now into four-wheel drive, it's into just the overall appearance of some of the cars. I mean, like, the WRC, I mean, those are some bad hombres that you guys race, and they look good when they wind up finding a version of it show up on the street. So all these things here, I mean, it's the manufacturers. If you can take a Citroen and make it look like a hot rod, you've done something. So everything that we're talking about here, it's just really the hot button is really the sustainable fuel deal. But there's so much more that's going on within the different manufacturers and the industry that it seems like we haven't even gotten into yet, but still it exists. And if you start, I mean, when I got the nod to host this, it's like, what in the world are they doing? And now it's like, oh my God, I'm behind, because I didn't realize that sustainability was such a big topic. I'm sitting here in my race shop right now, and we're getting ready to go to Homestead, Miami, and now I'm looking at the car that's out there on the pull down rig in a totally different vein, because there's more to it than just a sponsor or a truck. It's got a lot more that connects back to sustainability, to the whole industry, and how can we tie all that together. And if it does, we do it and do it correctly, then the technology is going to continue to transfer into the future, and we'll all benefit from it.
Yeah. And Jeff, from at your points, it's like we obviously talk about offsetting and fuel, but there is very much more. It's like, as you said, tires. Tires is something that both IndyCar and WRC are doing so much with in terms of sustainability. And the supplier of tires, like, actually bring those findings and on sustainability to the road tires. That is quite very transferable learning. That's what we have seen it. And from generators and like how to reduce the use of generators, and nature is like I think the two things that they've got in common as well is like how much, like Indianapolis, for example, is doing with nature and with the community, and the same thing with WRC. WRC in Europe is one of the few that have got the USP with the working with nature as well, and with UNESCO. So there is quite a lot to it. I think it's going to be, it doesn't really fit in an hour.
So much more. We're getting close on time. So, and kind of like in a closing deal, does anybody want to like have something that what you feel like is the most important thing we learned here today, and what we should carry away from today?
I would say, the most important thing, from my perspective is the continued industry collaboration. We see, I mentioned before, we're competitors in many ways, but it's important for all of us to continue working together to drive these solutions and understand that they're just as much about protecting the sport itself of motorsport as it is protecting the planet.
I think we've been echo on this, right? Collaboration and innovation will, overcome everything. So all I can say is it's exciting to meet folks who definitely are thinking the world and not inside of a box. They're definitely outside looking from all different kind of angles and trying to come up with solutions, but yet not lose sight of what we all have a passion for, and that's racing and what it brings to us.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Very well said. And thank you, everyone on the panel. Well, great pleasure. And Cristiana, thank you for bringing Bernhard and Logan. Cristiana's index has been posted on the ePortrait platform. We have worked together for many years. We're delighted to have you participated in this session. And as Judy mentioned earlier on, it's the beauty of these sessions. The platform is to bring, suppliers and, service providers like you guys from everywhere in the world and have those great discussions. So thank you very much. This webinar has been recorded. It will be posted later on the ePortrait platform, distributed through our social media channel and of course our newsletter. We will be back next Wednesday for a webinar on hydrogen. That's going to be on another interesting topics. So again, thank you very much. For more information and updates, visit eportrait.com. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you.
ePortrait is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
ePortrait, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
ePortrait really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series. Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
Where will you find Ferrea racing components, circle track, drag racing, and any top race shop? In every form of motorsports competition, our valves and valve train components deliver race-proven design and technology. And we've brought that same performance to our street applications as well. We're backed by 5 decades of experience, an extensive range of off-the-shelf components, and our custom valve department has the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Ferrea Racing Components. Stand with us or race against us.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crowder Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crowder Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crowder Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crowder, victory is within your reach.
At SeaTech, we're on a mission to lead the storage industry through innovative custom-built solutions that meet every challenge head-on. Designed for versatility, whether in a commercial setting or at home, we create high-quality, durable products that stand the test of time. SeaTech, engineering and innovation.